Hi, I'm Maggie Witherspoon, and this is my reflection video for Assignment Sequence 1, which was a literacy narrative paper for Dr. Gail York's RC 2001 class. And this assignment, since it was a literacy narrative, we got to talk about a certain literacy that we have. So it's like a knowledge base with its own discourse community that we have. And so I picked my knowledge of equestrianism. And the word equestrianism, I was at the writing center for this draft, and the guy that was helping me kind of told me, he was like, hey, that word's pretty vague. Like, I really don't know what it means. I mean, I know it has to do with horses, but I really don't know what the word itself means. And so equestrianism is just like a basic knowledge of horses, just of all shapes and sizes in general. And I mean, obviously, with any literacy, it progresses in how much you know. And so it goes from just like knowing, like just basic knowledge of what breeds of horses there are, to like knowledge of riding, to knowledge of training and different disciplines and whatever. So it's just kind of the world of horses and riding and working with them and knowing like health care for them and like stuff like that. And so that's equestrianism, and that's what I wrote my literacy narrative about. And I started off with just like the classic story of a little girl who was obsessed with horses, and that has not changed. I have horses everywhere. They just kind of are spattered around my room. They're just everywhere. And so I started out being obsessed with horses as a little girl, just watching movies about them and reading books, which was like a very baseline like literacy of horses. And then it progressed to me getting to take lessons at a local barn, and then in like a different barn after that with different disciplines. I rode Western first, which was like riding in rodeos and barrel racing, and then I rode at an English barn where I learned how to show jump, which is what I do now. And so as that knowledge progressed, I talked about how it affected me personally and how it made me a more confident person, being able to do all these like awesome things with all these awesome animals. And I really enjoyed writing this draft because I just love talking about it, as you can probably tell. And so I just really enjoyed it. My problem with writing this draft was I had a very strong tendency to just ramble on, which was I visited the writing center twice, and that's what they helped me work on the most, was organization and making sure that the paragraphs were divided into kind of digestible chunks that were easy for people to process, because I would just put a lot of information in there at once, and it would be hard to piece it together for people who didn't really know what I was talking about. So the writing center really helped me work on my organization. They also helped me with just the fact that I just ramble. So they helped me pick out pertinent information and stuff that I didn't really need to talk about, and stuff that I should, elaborate on, such as the concept of equestrianism. Because for someone who has a literacy of something, it's hard to picture what another person's understanding of that is. And so I had to like put myself in another person's shoes and think what I would need more explained, or what I would need explained more, such as the word equestrianism and what it really means. So those were the difficulties that I had. In my opinion, the way that the assignment was laid out, as in like the different drafts that we had to do, I really enjoyed it, because it wasn't necessarily like the classic venue for writing a paper, because normally you write what they call just a bad first draft. Technically, I learned that in RC 2001, and then you just refine it the farther you go through the process. But with the way that this paper was worked out, it was we wrote one draft, and it was a basic discussion of our literacy that everyone has, which is reading and writing. And then we wrote a draft discussing some of our own literacies, and then it kind of narrowed down the farther down we went, because then we went to discuss just one literacy, and it was equestrianism. And so I really liked it. It worked a lot more with my like process in my brain. It allowed me to really like figure out which information I liked the most and which I felt like I could talk the most effectively about. And so I really liked how it was laid out. Other than that, I really don't think, I really enjoyed this assignment. I didn't think that I had a lot of difficulty with it. like with understanding what was required of me for the assignment. So I really enjoyed it. And that's all, folks.